You said the thing about manipulation is that, well, it has to come from, it's about you, okay? I don't want to be manipulated, but to be able to be in that position, you need to realize that you are manipulated.
Yes.
So how do you know when you are?
Well, it's interesting because children are very perceptive that something is wrong. Now, they can't identify exactly what's wrong, but they'll see it. My son was watching something and he said, "Dad, I think this is propaganda. This it doesn't make sense." And he didn't know the words, but it didn't have internal consistency. So they were saying things that contradicted each other and claiming both were true. And he said, that's wrong. There's something wrong there. The thing is we're trained out of that natural instinct. We have a desire for truth as humans, for things to make sense, because when things make sense, we survive. When things don't make sense, there's something that we're not noticing, and that's when we end up with trouble. We end up running into a survival situation over history is when we didn't understand. New kind of berry, don't know if I should eat it or not. This guy says it's poisonous, that guy says it isn't. What am I going to do? And so children have that. We're trained out of it by a society that says you must go along with this manipulation or there will be punishment. So this starts in childhood with parents. So parents say, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
So it's a perfectly normal thing. The parent wants you to brush your teeth. He has a legitimate need. He's afraid your teeth are going to fall out if you don't. But instead of teaching the child why toothbrushing is important and explaining how it works and saying, yeah, if you miss a toothbrushing, your teeth aren't going to fall out. But the more you miss, it accumulates, and explaining this to them, which takes time and effort. They say, brush your teeth or I'm going to be really upset at you. That's emotional manipulation. You're emotionally manipulating the child. I don't want to make dad and mom upset. I need them to survive. Like they're where food comes from and love. And so I better do what they say. And so we get cultivated into this mindset that if an authority figure says something, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's clearly manipulative, it's in our own interest to go along with it. Otherwise, there'll be some sort of punishment. And that's a coping strategy we develop as children. Then we become an adult and we realize that we can stand up to for this manipulation, but we're so programmed to not do it that now we need to relearn how to identify it. So the identifying signs of manipulation are what we call GSRRM. And it's an acronym, and it stands for gossiping, shaming, rallying. There's a bunch more underlying. There's like 15 of them, and it's bigger than the acronym. And what you do is you learn those, and these are all things, psychologizing, for example, all things that as soon as you read that, you go, that happened to me last week or last month. And it's as soon as you hear it, it's like a light went on that can never go off again. And suddenly you have this awareness that if someone is psychologizing me, so they're saying, oh, your desire to not brush your teeth is because you have a fetish for not toothbrushing and you're crazy, and what ends up happening is you become immune to it because as soon as someone uses that technique, that there's some manipulation going on. Now, a step beyond that is to learn how to do the confrontation. And so when someone's manipulating you, what do you do about it? Because recognizing it is the first step. And we usually recognize that manipulation within us. So the imposter syndrome that you're talking about is internal manipulation.
Yeah.
So we're undermining, which is one of the GSRMs. We're undermining our own sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're even psychologizing. Am I crazy to think that I could be good at this? And so this thing that we're doing makes it easier for other people to undermine us. If we've been telling ourselves we're no good all day and someone else comes along and says, you're no good, but look, if you just follow what I'm telling you, you're going to be fine, but you're no good. Okay. Then we're going to be really susceptible to that. That's how people get into cults. People don't get into a cult who are well-adjusted and don't undermine themselves. It's people who already have told themselves they have no value. The cult comes along and says, this is how you gain value. Join our cult. And when I say cult, I don't even mean a religious cult. Some political organizations are basically cults. Some businesses are run like a cult. And we get sucked into that, and that ends up becoming our owner, essentially.
Yeah. I do CrossFit. CrossFit is often referred as a cult, which is not.
Yes. Well, and see, the interesting thing with that is it can often depend on the individual. So I do know someone that she had some emotional disturbances, and working out for her was her only way to keep herself healthy.
Yeah.
But because she had one single coping mechanism, she was working out for 5 hours a day. Her joints are starting to wear out. She's not going to be able to continue. What happens when she can't work out anymore? And so developing a whole suite of coping mechanisms where we divide that coping between 10 or 15 things is going to be a lot better for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you self-manipulate, other people will see those buttons and push them.